All right, my friends, we are going to continue with outlining and transferring the eye. So let's go ahead and we're gonna start by first outlining the iris. And the iris is that very colorful part in the center of someone's eye. All right, now we're going to outline the highlight that's kind of like a rounded U shape in the bottom of the eye. So let's outline that. We're also going to outline that sharp white crisp, a little highlight up in the top of the eye, and then the iris as well, or the pupil. Sorry, the pupil is the little black spot right in the center. Now we're going to do a couple of parts of this eye that I really want you to pay attention to so you don't oversimplify. What we're going to do next, I want you to watch this part and then you're going to do it. We're going to come in and I'm going to outline the top of the shadow of the eye and the bottom of the shadow of the eye of where it's starting on the interior side where the tear duct is. So I've outlined both, and then I'm gonna give myself that little highlight and that longer little highlight right through here. Now I'm gonna outline the top of the tear line. So like right where the white of the eye becomes the skin, like on the outside edge. Now the tear line has an edge, and I'm gonna show myself the outside edge of that before it starts with the lashes. Now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add a couple of these specific lashes. And I'm going to come in and right here, we've got a couple of these little lines. I'm just gonna add those two specific lines, and then I'm gonna outline where it is lighter underneath that tear line. So it's kind of like a little puff right here. Now we're gonna come around and we're coming all the way up to where the lashes are sticking up here. Okay, now let's hop back in and we need to outline where in the right side of the eye the actual shadow starts. And it's got kind of like a eyelash shape on the inside there that's reflecting the eyelashes above. So I outlined that in kind of a zigzag method. Now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add just kind of like a wavy, like pointed up and down, like a scalloped line along the bottom where the lashes are all touching and are solid. And I'm gonna skip doing the actual like the individual lashes until near the end. Now I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna outline that first lid line and then that second little lid line. Now, we want to show ourselves where the gradual values change as well. So we see that this little highlight near the center of the eye ends right about here. We also see that the highlight by the brow bone ends right about here. All right. Next, we're going to trace the outside shape of our eyebrow. I'm using kind of like sketchy lines to make it. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to draw those lines at the angle of the hairs that I see. And you can see that as it reaches the side or the outside edge, those lines and hairs start to drop down more vertically. Now we're going to continue throughout the face, just kind of outlining the basic changes in value now that we're fairly close to being done with the eye. So let's go, and on the top part of our nose, we've got a bit of a highlight that starts right here and a shadow that starts here. We've also got a shadow that kind of comes across from the brow bone here, and it kind of ends right about here near the edge of the eyebrow. What we're going to do next is come in on the side of the face and give ourselves the outside edge. And we're going to draw the jawline going all the way up. Okay, now on this cheek right here, we need to see where the values change the most. So we're gonna come in and outline the darkest edge is kind of coming out at like a curve right here. So we've got like that dark edge that comes out. And now we are going to just border the highlight of our cheek right through here. Okay, and then we have one more shadow space that's kind of starting underneath our nose. And we maybe will just kind of curve that underneath. All right, our next space is the hair. So let's go ahead and I'm going to outline just the highlights here. So what I'm doing is I'm outlining like the jagged kind of highlighted section. So I've got like a highlight space here. I've got a highlight space here, highlight space here, highlight space here, a gap in the hair down below. So I'm starting to see some gaps in the hair as I'm working my way down. So I'm going to make sure that I show myself those little gaps and outline that little trail of curl that's coming down. So we want to see that whole space here. And you can give yourself a couple little wispies from these little curls that are kind of sticking out from the top. We want to see the edge of the head. And we've got this little earring here. We're going to outline that circle and then the highlight as well. Now we are going to do a check, and you're just going to lift your picture up to see if there are any spaces that you have not transferred yet. So you're looking, I missed the side of the ear that's on the curl here. So I am just gonna lift and lower this to see if there are any parts that I am forgetting. So that is your check to make sure that you've got all of your transfer finished. All right, now we are going to lift this up, and we're gonna come in now and we're gonna be working on our value scales off to the side. So I am gonna have you follow along with me again. We are going to have our lesson guide out so that we can really see and make sure that we're following the instructions correctly. Now we'll begin by numbering. We're gonna come in and we're going to label so that we have our value number 10 is all the way up here at the top. Then we're gonna go 9, 8, and 7. Now we're gonna come in with a pencil to write number 6 because that is just the color of the paper is that value. Then we're going to come in with 5 with a white charcoal pencil, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. All right, let me zoom out so you can really see this whole value scale as we go. Okay, we are going to start on 0, so follow along with me. We're gonna take our white and let's fill in a border all the way around, and we want this border to be super, super solid. Now I'm filling this entire box after I did my border, and I'm using tiny little circles and kind of a lot of pressure because we want this to be our brightest white. All right, filling that in nice and solid all the way up to the edge there. Blow away your crumbs. See if you've got any spots that are still left that need to be filled in again. And now we are going to hop up to value number 5, and this is just like the lightest that we can color with white. So I'm gonna fill this in and have it be just so soft. And I want to avoid leaving any lines that you can see. So just like a slight dusting. Now, our next step is to bridge the gap from 0 to 5. So maybe I'll come in for my 3 and I'll add in just like an in-between tone. All right, now let's bridge the gap between 3 and 4. Let's just make this slightly lighter than what we just did, but a little bit brighter than what we had before. All right, now we'll come in for 1, and this we can almost fill all the way. So let's give ourselves a border, but we're just not adding quite as much pressure as what we did for our 0. So it's like almost all the way filled in. All right, now let's do 2, and we just want to bridge the gap. So we want to have a nice smooth transition. Now we are just going to look backwards and see if it has a nice smooth transition, and you can always go in and add more or even erase if you have added too much. Blow away your dust. All right, now if it looks like it's got a nice smooth transition out to this lightest value, then you're gonna come in with your Q-tip and we're going to use the Q-tip to just blend that value in until you no longer see the crispiness of the charcoal. Now we're going to do that once more, blend that in, and we're using very light pressure all the way through, just like the same amount of pressure, just barely touching it enough to get that grain to disappear. And then we don't even touch value 0. All right, now let's come in and we're working on value 10. Now you might need to fold your paper up or like separate your tape if it was connected on the sides so that we can reach that last little value here. So we're gonna come in on value 10 and we are going to give ourselves a nice crisp border. Go ahead and do this with me. And we're gonna fill this in so that it is completely solid black. All right, now blow away your dust. And that's gonna show you, usually there are plenty more spaces to continue filling so that you have 0 little white grainy dots left behind. Keep blowing away your dust to check, and you want those edges to be nice and crisp. All right, now 7 is the lightest that we can color with our charcoal pencil. So we are gonna come in and let's just add this lightest value that we possibly can. Try to use the flat edge of your pencil here to make it soft and not have like sharp lines through it. Okay, so now we are just going to bridge the gap between our darkest and our lightest. So I'm gonna come in for value 9 and let's go ahead and just lighten that up a bit. We can give ourselves some borders, but we want it to still be progressively getting lighter. So make sure that you are not going too dark. And then we're gonna bridge the gap between 9 and 7. All right, now once you've got a nice smooth transition, we want to go back through and border those edges so you can really see where the transitions are. All right, next we're going to come in with our blending stump, and you always want to clean this off on a spare piece of paper. You can just take it, and here's one side that still has charcoal in it, and if I like roll this around on a piece of paper, it starts to get lighter and lighter until it just doesn't have any more coming off. So we are going to clean it first, and then let's start on value 7. We're just barely dusting this one. Okay, now let's come in, and I think we could probably, I think I did mine just a touch dark, and that's okay, that happens. We have the option of using a kneaded eraser, which I don't happen to have right next to me, but you can use a kneaded eraser to get like a softer pickup from your eraser, but I just kind of went through and lightened that up a bit, and now I'm gonna blend it out with my blending stump. All right, and now let's hop into value 8. All right, and now number 9, and we don't blend out value 10. We just don't touch it. Okay, good job. So we are going to just take a look at that and make sure that we've got a nice smooth transition. You can come in and erase on the outside edges if you've got some like going out of your space. You can also lighten up a bit. I think I could probably lighten a little bit on mine. So take your time. You can kind of make some adjustments. But a good check is if you squint your eyes and look at yours, if you have like an abrupt stop, that is a good time to go back in and see if you can do any perfecting there to make it have a smoother transition. So I would probably lighten up my 8. And I would prefer to use a kneaded eraser because it doesn't pick up quite so much and you can like softly remove it. So that's a great option if you're using like a large space that you need to erase. And now I've looked at mine and I think I've gone a little too light on my 8. So I can always come back through and I can steal from value 9 with my blending stump and then just add a small amount rather than like trying to draw on it with my with my charcoal pencil and then getting too much. So now I can see I've got a nice smooth transition. All right, the last step for this video, we are going to come in and complete our sliding scale together. So let's start back at 0. Go ahead and pick up your white charcoal pencil with me. Let's add in our white for the solid 0. So we're giving ourselves a border, filling it in totally solidly. All right, now we're going to continue into value 1, and we are just pressing lighter and lighter. And as we do this, I want to switch the direction that I'm coloring so that I don't have lines left behind. So instead of just doing a vertical pass, try to do more of like a circle pass as you're working through this process. And we're going to fade all the way out until we reach value 5, which is our last value. So I'm just gonna go along the borders and make sure it's nice and even. I want you to just look at yours and see if it's a smooth transition on its own. And when you get to this point, go ahead and take a look up here. We are gonna come in and use a Q-tip to go through and blend out the remaining values all the way up to our solid 0, and then we'll stop. Next, we are coming in for value 10. Go ahead and border this with me. We're gonna fill in a solid number 10. Then we're gonna come in and using small circles, we're filling our value 9, 8, and then we just are barely touching the paper for 7, the lightest we can color. All right, now once you've got a nice smooth transition, you're gonna start on the light side. We always start on the lighter edge. We're gonna help this fade into that gray by just giving it a nice light dusting. And then we are using little circles, working horizontally, going all the way back up. And as we go up, we're getting more and more charcoal on our blending stump, so be careful not to go back down without kind of cleaning off your blending stump first. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and remember that if it was a little fast for you, you are always welcome to branch off on your own and pull this video up on your own computer so that you can watch and then pause as you get to a part that you need more time for. All right, see you in our next video. Thanks for watching.